You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
Man, that movie was excellent.
It really was. Totally blew my expectations away.
I know, right? Now I really want to tell everyone about it. But I'm not sure how.
Yeah. If only there was a podcast dedicated to reviewing films and discussing the latest news and trailers on upcoming films. That would be nice.
Yes, for sure. And we can call it the Cineguy Show.
What? No. It will be called Real Movie Critic Unleashed.
No. How about Cineguy featuring Real Movie Critic?
How about the Real Movie Critic and his sidekick, the Cineguy?
CG and RMC.
RMC and CG!
The Real Movie Critic versus the Cineguy. Only at CertainPOV.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're going down, critic.
Bring it on, guy.
Welcome to your next shift of Overtime. This week we are going to be talking about Black Widow. And to talk about Black Widow, you have me, Mitch, Jessica Bailey.
Hello.
Daniel Juarez.
Hey, everyone.
And John Camarena.
Hi.
So first off, I wanted to ask, how did everybody go and see this movie? Because you had the option of going to the theater and watching it on Disney Plus Premium Access. I watched it in the theater. John?
Theater.
Jessica?
Theater.
Daniel?
You guys are too damn lucky. When I have a 1.5-year-old, as much as I wanted to go and watch it in the theater, I didn't want to be that guy with his, screaming little kids. So I forked up the
those
money
people
for the
were there.
access.
Yeah, those people were still there.
Yeah, no.
Yes, they were.
I didn't want to be that guy. So yeah, I just forked up the cash for the premiere access.
So how was that experience? Have you done Premiere Access stuff before this?
That was my first time, actually. I was almost tempted to do it for Mulan and one of the other ones. I can't remember which one it was. But none of them were kind of like, I can wait. But this one, I really wanted to watch it, as soon as I could. So I'm like, it's either the theater or just Disney Plus. But I was going to try to do it the same weekend it came out.
And did you regret it? Did you think it was great? How did the movie watching experience go for Premiere Access?
That's a great question. I mean, the experience itself, I have no complaints about it. It streamed just fine. It's 4K, whatever. I feel I lost a little bit of something having watched that at home instead of the theater. I really think it was one of those, you got to go see it in the theater type of movies. But that's my only complaint about it. And it wasn't so much about the movie, really. I think it was just the experience. It was the first time that I saw a Marvel movie like that, I guess. So I did miss the theater for sure.
Well, I know John, for lack of a better timing, wouldn't mind have watched it at home. He had to get up to go to the bathroom in the middle. Well, not the middle, the end. The final fight scene.
I was looking at the time. I was like, how much longer does this have to go? And the sad part is I literally went to the bathroom right before the movie. I was like, all right, got to make sure tank's on empty so I can just sit down and enjoy it. And no, that icy just did a number on my kidneys.
Oh, it's not an icy anymore. Harkins no longer has ices. They have Harkins freezies. So
yeah,
we lost the icy contact. I see.
I did want to point out, Harkins raised their prices quite a bit on some things.
They
did lose a significant amount of money, and they do only get their money is just from concession sales. So
they need to start making up some of the money they lost during COVID.
Yeah, I went out of my way to buy candy. I was like, I don't usually buy anything at theaters, but I'm like, I got a full-time job now. I should probably start helping pay for these people's paychecks.
But they didn't have what I wanted. They're not carrying the moon cheese anymore.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Aw, those are pretty.
I don't know what it is about, movie theater concessions, but I'm okay buying the popcorn. Probably only because I can't sneak it in as easy as the candy.
Well, the candy is definitely the most overpriced item, I would think. Yeah, like you get it for $1 at a convenience store, and it's $5-6 at the concession. It's a little much, but I can't go without the movie theater popcorn. Like that's the biggest thing that I miss out on not going to the theater.
Mm.
So, theater talk aside, what were our thoughts on the movie? Daniel, what were your coming out of the theater thoughts?
Well,
finishing up, pushing stop on your Disney Plus.
Yeah, and I guess I should say that I kind of watched it in two parts. Last night, I think we watched the first hour, and then this morning we finished the rest. And
actually, before you get going, I want to know, where was the stopping point? Like where did you have your intermission at?
Was it when I think Natasha and her sister were kind of already, where were they? I think it was with their fixer guy. It was kind of like that moment before they decide to go and destroy the Red Room, I guess. I think it was at that moment when they're kind of like talking about it, reminiscing about the past.
Oh.
I think that's might have been where we stopped it last night.
Okay.
If I remember.
Interesting.
Yeah, but in regards to, this is an interesting question because I don't know if it was because I watched it at home and not the theater that it felt more like a made-for-TV movie. And not in a bad way. Like it was high budget, but I think it's really more about the fact that I watched it at home instead of the theater. It just felt so weird in that sense. It wasn't bad at all. I liked the story. It was a little bit cliche at times, maybe. I don't know, but it was still a Marvel flick. It was fun. It made me laugh at the moments I think it did. Maybe I would have laughed more in the theater with other people. So I think lost something not watching it in the theater. So I do kind of regret watching it at home, but it's like, given my circumstances, I'll take what I can get.
There you go. Jessica.
Initial thoughts on it?
Yep.
Yeah. I liked it. I really liked it. I had typical MCU expectations for it. Like, I knew I was going to like it because I pretty much like all the writers that work for Marvel. So, and the direction of it. And it's how I like my action films, with like a mixture of comedy and ridiculousness and action. And I liked it a lot more than I thought it did. I liked how it made fun of itself a bit. Well, made fun of Black Widow a bit, kind of in things that have always bugged me, because like for the longest while, Black Widow was the only female Avenger, and she does. Well, I guess we can spoil because we're talking about it, huh?
Yep.
She does.
This is anybody listening, there's going to be spoilers. That's what you should know.
I'm so used to like the week's watch stuff not be spoiling new stuff. So, like the poses things always bugged me. The poses really did bug me about her character. Like, I get it, she's awesome, but why does she always have to flick her hair and stick a leg out? Like, that's not what you would do to properly land. That's how you break an ankle. And so the fact that was made fun of was excellent. I think it was like a Marvel movie made for girls too, because it had a lot of like girl humor in it, like the vest with the pockets. It has pockets, and that's literally all we're looking for, is pockets in our clothing. So it was great. It was fun. It was predictable, but like, I think the big plot twist with Taskmaster, I caught that pretty early on. I was like, yeah, that's probably so-and-so, because it was like a cyborg, and that's what you do with burned bodies in any superhero film, is you turn it into a cyborg. So, but I didn't know Taskmaster at all, so I have no idea if that's actually...
No.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so that wasn't surprising.
Taskmaster is one of my characters, and I'm going to say I don't really hate what they did with the character. The only thing I really was upset with is that it's science that made Taskmaster the way that she is in this movie, as opposed to being a mutant ability. Like, I feel like this was another way that they could have just been like, oh, mutants exist in this world, but we're just not there yet. So I guess that's fine.
Because
They
this
keep
is
teasing it though.
Yeah, they do keep on teasing it and like almost going there, but not. But this was supposed to come out before everything that's come out already, right? Like the shows?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this was supposed to be out before WandaVision and Captain America Winter Soldier, or Falcon and Winter Soldier.
So had they owned the mutants yet? I can't remember when Disney got access to Fox. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
all right.
they had gotten access to Fox right before Endgame. Like, the hope was that there was going to be some type of in-credit scene in Endgame where you would see something to do with mutants. But
well, that would have been
happen.
too quick of a transition because they already have everything all pre-plotted out. I have a feeling these next few stages is when we're going to get it, but...
More than likely.
Yeah.
I was hoping that the final battle, like one of those portals that opened up, it was like Xavier's School for Gifted Children just walking out.
Crash lands the thing on senior school.
Oh, wow. John, initial thoughts coming out of the theater?
I feel like this movie was long overdue. I've been waiting for a Black Widow solo movie since Iron Man 2. For like a minute, I thought like, wow, like finally we had like an awesome female-driven Marvel movie. And I was like, wait, no, we had Captain Marvel. Oh yeah, that was a thing that happened. I don't know. I feel like Captain Marvel just being so super powerful kind of diminishes some of like the character, because you're like, there's really no stakes. You know, she's never in any real danger, or at least we're never meant to care for her. It's like she's got this, whatever. In this one, I mean, you know that Black Widow was going to survive because she dies later.
Yeah.
But like, I was actually kind of worried for all of the other characters because I ended up liking them more than I expected. And I'm like, shit, like, are they going to do a Rogue One and just kill off everyone else that's not important to the rest of the story? And I'm glad that wasn't what they did, because that was probably one of the biggest missed opportunities with something like Rogue One, or whenever you do those type of story within the story, is that, well, in order so that it doesn't contradict anything that comes after it, you kind of just have to like prune it, essentially, to use the dialect of our current shows that we're watching. It's like you kind of have to put it in this little pocket where it can exist, but it won't interfere with everything else. So I'm really glad that Red Guardian, Florence Pugh's character, Yelena, and I guess I didn't know this, but Rachel Weisz's character also has a name. She's supposed to be the Iron Maiden.
Correct. Iron Maiden. She's I want to say Iron Man villain usually, but yeah, definitely not a well-used or well-known villain.
Okay.
You might have seen her in that animated series.
I could not get into Iron Man. He
okay.
Very, very not a kid's. Very Iron Man, I guess. It was not my version of Iron Man that I
it gives you a whole new appreciation for what Robert Downey Jr. brought to the character.
Yes.
When you see it on paper, it's like, ugh.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I get why people don't like him now. Because I was always like, Iron Man's awesome. Like, I mean, he's narcissistic, but like, he's not bad narcissistic. And then I see the show and I'm like, oh, I get it why people were like,
I think
Iron Man.
when you get pure narcissism without any charm, it just doesn't,
it doesn't work. No.
It doesn't work.
Coming out of the theater for me, I definitely would say I enjoyed it. I had a great time going to the theater. I mean, does this being the first MCU movie back since the pandemic, like, does that color it any different for me? Maybe. But I do think that I enjoyed the little character moments for not just Natasha, but for the rest of her quote unquote family. And just the action scenes. I mean, we got straight up Marvel action scenes again, which were great. I want to ask, so as it was brought up between us so far already, this was a long time coming. This is a movie, not only does it take place in the past between Civil War and Infinity War, but a lot of people do feel like this is a movie that should have happened, as John put it, back after Iron Man 2. So how do you feel about this one being so late in the MCU phases, and two, going back to a moment that is so far back? John.
Makes me wonder for the future of the franchise. Like, are we gonna, basically do like a side story more now than actual progression of the plot? Because moving into, I guess we're going into phase 4 now. We're going to start to get into the more obscure characters like the Eternals, which are probably, I mean, they've been around longer than the Guardians of the Galaxy, from what I understand, but they're lesser known. You're going to have still some big franchise movies like you still got Spider-Man No Way Home, the Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange.
Another Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
The third Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which up until now we still don't really have anything on it. I don't think they've started principal on it.
No.
So in between those, I'm kind of wondering if like they're going to opt to also do the like side stories for some of the characters, maybe some of the smaller characters, as we saw in this one. Because we already gave spoiler alert, right? So
yes,
the very ending of the movie puts it so that Yelena is now going to be contracted by Valentina something to go after Hawkeye. And we know Hawkeye's going to get his own show, but I think he's going to be more of the backdrop for whatever his daughter's name is.
It's not his daughter. It is going to be Kate Bishop? Yeah, Kate Bishop, who's going to be the next Hawkeye.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking if we're going to be doing more things like that, maybe, where you start having those little, like, sort of like one-offs of...
Well, they're also introducing new characters with the 10 Rings guy.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Shang-Chi. Forget about him.
Shang-Chi, yep.
So they're... And the Eternals, too. But his will be just an origin story, it looks like. So,
but
I
mean,
know.
that's what we got with Black Panther. We got an origin story, and then we get more movies. So yes, we're getting. I'm assuming we're going to get more Black Widow movies with Florence Pugh's character going forward. We're going to get more Shang-Chi movies. We're going to get more Eternal movies. But then we also have probably two more Black Panther movies. We have another Thor movie. So I don't know if that's going to go off into following Jane Foster, instead of Chris Hemsworth, but.
We could get there are the new Avengers, basically.
But going back to your question of how I feel about getting it now as opposed to maybe before, I definitely do think it kind of took a little bit something away from her and her character, knowing we're like, well, we're not going to see her again. And to a certain degree, she got a little upstage almost at times. Like, I fell in love with David Harbour's character. He every time he was talking, it was just a delight for me. It was way better than I thought it would be. Like, his character, like, I didn't think too much about him, but he had such little lines, really, in a sense, compared to everybody else. But every time he was on screen, he kind of just like was stealing it for me.
That's him. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, it's a Black Widow movie, but man, I'm really into these other characters too. So I mean, if you would have released this movie before we know what happened to her, I think it would have felt better for me. Now it feels like it's just kind of an afterthought. But I'm like, well, at least we get to see these characters maybe again. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Jessica, did you have more to add to that?
Yeah, I could. Like, I wanted it, so I'm not going to complain where it took place because I wanted a story that involved Black Widow, but it did kind of sort of just feel like the setup for the next phase, even though it took in the past. So it did kind of sort of take from a character, especially since you do already know that she dies. But then at the same time, I guess it kind of sort of fills in why she had to be the one that would do it. So, because people were like, why did she have to be the one, to sacrifice herself for her family? And in this one, you're like, because that's what she does, period. Because there were multiple times when she sacrificed herself for her family, even when she was directly arguing with them and being pissed with them. and everything. So I guess it kind of fills in that gap. But yeah, it does kind of. I do feel a little let down. Like it's like reliving her death again. Watching this, you're like, oh, like just. I mean, I loved it, but I was still like, oh, right, she's not coming back. Like.
And talking about family, am I the only one that was disappointed not to see a Vin Diesel cameo talking about family? Like I was waiting for they're not going there, right? It's just been so much in the pop culture, that whole family meme, and they're talking so much about family. I'm like, they're not going to do a Vin Diesel thing. I'm like, okay, no.
I mean, if Groot just came up and said, I am
right.
Groot, but we would all know that it would be this is family. I think, Kevin Feige in an interview with the EW said that the reason it takes place between Infinity War and Civil War is because that you can tell by the time we get to Infinity War that there is a change in the way that Natasha walks and talks and acts. I don't know if I really saw that all that much, but I feel like that's reaching. The other thing is that we kind of know just from rumors, I guess is the best way, that Ike Perlmutter, who used to be the one that was in charge of like the movie side of Marvel Studios before they just gave it all to Kevin Feige, like he was the one that was very much against having a Black Widow movie. And the reason why there is leak footage of a stand-in for Captain Marvel at the end of Age of Ultron, in that final scene where they're all kind of just grouping up in that hallway, and Captain America's like, oh, is this going to be, so this is going to be our new Avengers or whatever. And she's like, okay. And he's like, Avengers. And they cut it off right there. Like, you remember, it's like Wanda and War Machine. And, I think someone else comes in. They're just kind of like there, but either way, that there was leak footage of something like that. And Ike also stopped that from happening, from Captain Marvel happening earlier. Obviously, a very terrible guy.
Okay, there we go. I was like, so he hates women? Is that where the poses came from?
Yeah.
Was this a big middle finger to Ike?
I think
making fun of the poses and everything. Okay, now I like that this movie exists even more.
What are your favorite parts? Favorite parts of the movie so far, or after watching it?
For me, it's got to be that first time not the first time, but after they rescue, Red Guardian, and they're down because he thought obviously they'd make it to Moscow, which he knew they weren't. That just that little exchange between him and his daughters, and the fact that he's totally unaware of that what he's saying is just totally like cringing, both of them. That was, I think, my favorite part right there. That's
very much a daughters and dad thing, right?
Definitely.
Yes, it is.
I want to. So in his stories of fighting Captain America, and as we know, Steve Rogers is in the ice at the time. Is he fighting? Was it Isaiah? Yeah, Isaiah Bradley, that Captain America.
I don't know, because I still think it would have been too late. Because I feel like Isaiah would have been whatever didn't they put him in jail? Isn't that what Isaiah said?
It's true.
Him?
That's true.
So it couldn't have been him, but they might have tried other super soldiers that weren't actually super soldiers. That's what I'm thinking it could have been. I don't know.
So you actually think he's telling the truth and that he's not lying?
I think he fought a lot of American soldiers, and I think maybe one of them was wearing red, white, and blue once.
Actually, when you think about it, if he's telling the truth, what truth is he telling himself, I guess?
Yeah. In the comic books, they have retconned it so that there were other people that were parading as Captain America at the time, because as time moves on, when Steve Rogers comes out of the ice, it has to move forward as well. Like he always has to be a perpetual 30-year-old something. So they usually have, well, that person is this person, and he was parading around as Captain America at that time. So we could get into something like that in the MCU. I doubt it after we saw U.S. Agent and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but we'll see. Jessica, what was a favorite part of yours?
I had a lot of favorite parts in this one. The family dinner when they all are reunited. Even the really odd pig scene was actually just so well done for how that type of person would be. Like, it's fine. It has 11 more seconds. Like, it's perfect. Like, just so cool. Just the perfect establishment of her character. And then it, like, to give you that thought that she's evil. She is turning in her family, which she kind of did do. But then to, like, convince you that there wasn't a plan made, that Black Widow wasn't going to pretend to be her mother. And it, like, almost made you believe it. Like, oh, she wasn't kidding. She is evil. She is intentionally making pigs not great or evil. Like, she did create a very, very horrible thing. But, but I was legit like, wait, no, like, she's not going to. Oh, okay. Thank gosh. That was like not a catch-22, but it was just, I guess, a sleight of hand. A red herring. There we go. Thank you. It was like a red herring. That whole scene was hilarious because they're all like, we're not family. And then, yes, you are. You guys haven't seen each other for years and you're talking to each other like this. Like, those 3 years impacted you. Like, it's obvious.
The fact that it turns into like a family argument around the dinner table is just your family.
Yeah, the no slouching thing. That's what I was like. That's my mother right there. Like, why are you slouching? Why is your elbow on the table? Like, I just want to relax. But yeah, that was a good scene. And then I always love action choreography. It's one of my favorite things. And the fact that she slips and slides down when they're falling, and she does that flip when Taskmaster's after her, and she just slides down the, like, solar panel, I guess is what it was. Oh, it was gorgeous. It was like something out of an anime. It was just beautiful. That was great.
Did you all feel like this one wasn't, like, grounded in reality for the fight scenes as much as the other ones were? It's something that I saw on the internet, and I don't necessarily agree, but
she should have had a lot of broken ribs, and she didn't.
Okay.
She shouldn't have been able to breathe. But, like,
which fight has been grounded in reality? I guess is my question.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I don't agree with it. It's just something I've always seen on the internet. You know how well that place is.
No, to me, I think it was on par with every other Marvel fight.
Yeah.
Scenes that I've ever seen. I mean, I don't think they're very real, but I mean, I think they're very entertaining to watch. So,
same.
Hey, I was a much bigger fan though of the scenes that were clearly like practical. Mm-hmm. Like the car chase scene with the two motorcycle widows was like much better in my opinion, or more interesting for me to watch, I think, than like the ending where they're falling from the Red Room. And they're just basically diving through all the wreckage as it's falling down and all that stuff. I was like, okay, like that. I mean, but I would do that with any of the other heroes doing that also, because there you definitely have that suspension of disbelief with some of the more crazy things that they do. Because like Black Widow should have had way more cuts and bruises on her face and like limping. Like one of the worst injuries that you see from one of the people that's chasing them is like she just gets like a broken leg. I was like,
oh yes, the one that fell. Yeah,
she should have been like splattered, like, and even I think in that same scene, Black Widow also falls down like 4 stories and like hits like 3 different beams on the way down, and it's like that scene in Spider-Man 2 when he's losing his like ability to shoot webs and he falls down an alley, and he just like slams into like all these different things and into like a dumpster.
Yeah, but like. I guess the counter argument to that is that Spider-Man falling down, and he's pretty invincible. I mean, he got hit by a train in his last movie, but this is, as far as we know, Black Widow's just a super spy. She doesn't even have super soldier serum.
Nope.
Although watching this, I'd be like, maybe she has like a little bit. Because, she should. Like, she should have had 3 broken ribs after her first fight with Taskmaster. after
Maybe she
getting flung
was
against.
maybe she was trained in some weird martial art where part of it is you can, I don't know, focus the pain away or something.
Focus the pain away, or like who is it? Like Houdini, who could clench his
There
muscles
you
like
go.
so well that you couldn't break his bones easily because he'd just turn his muscles into a wall, basically.
Well,
But
we just
Mind
got
over matter.
you just got to gut punch him when he's not ready.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
how you kill Houdini.
I'm curious about that martial arts style. I'm still not convinced it's real, but I've seen videos on YouTube of the masters, who get their students to like hit them in the junk with like bricks and stuff. I was like, okay, how is that tactfully advantageful? Like, I don't know. That's a weird. Can they have kids? Like, is it worth it? Like, you can take a kick to the nuts, but like,
I feel like those monks have taken a vow of celibacy, so they don't really have to worry about that part.
And
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe they're like, one of Daenerys' soldiers, where they're what do you call them, eunuchs, whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say maybe that's just their thing. It's like, I
That's
need a
their
brick.
kink. There you go. One of my favorite things of the movie, I mean, there was a lot of great things, but Marvel Studios constantly trying to find a way to put in a classic or comic accurate costume for their characters. Like we saw the classic Loki most recently in Loki, and you see like a classic Captain America in the first movie. Well, this one we get the classic Black Widow costume because at first you have Melina, Rachel Weisz's character, wearing it because she has been through the Red Room 4 times. So this is her outfit from back in the day. But when in actuality, we get Natasha wearing it because she takes the mask off and she is wearing. It's got the gold bracelets. It's got the simpler black catsuit, and then the kind of offset like belt that doesn't quite
makes sense.
work. Yeah, doesn't quite work as a belt.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a throwback, and I was like, all right, I appreciate that, and the way that they work it into the story, I appreciate that. So, how did you all feel about this as a spy noir story?
I definitely
Does it pass?
Well, I mean, it had a lot of similarities to the actual spy movie referenced within it, which was a Moonraker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I'm a huge James Bond fan, so I remember Moonraker, but I never even thought like, oh, like at the end of it, like, oh yeah, it was a lot like Moonraker. So I mean, it was fine though. Like I didn't realize it until after the fact, and after watching like some kind of like Easter egg stuff, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's true. It was totally Moonraker. But for me, it was fine. I don't think it was like the best one or anything like that. Like I think there's a couple others that I enjoyed more, but for me, it was fine. I enjoyed what they showed us and how it went about, but I think there were some things that were kind of like, yeah, you can kind of see it coming, and I like to be a little bit more surprised for certain things, but that's my
this
only
movie
complaint.
Definitely, to me, seems like a Jason Bourne type of movie.
Yeah.
Like that was the best equivalent for me.
Yeah. It's not spy in the sense that it's about spying on stuff. It's spy in the sense of it's just action. You're just a spy by name, which really James Bond doesn't do a lot of spying either because he's very obviously a spy. So, and Black Widow is very obviously an assassin. I guess it's more of an assassin movie, actually, if anything. But yeah, Moonraker wasn't it? It was nice to see Moonraker because we read and watched Moonraker for the Love of Pages podcast. So that was fun to see.
So let me ask you this, because I've never seen or read Moonraker. Like, how does that foreshadow for the rest of this movie? Like when that's showing up, is that a big foreshadow?
Kind of is. The biggest connection I could see is that in Moonraker, the bad guy's lair is in space, and this is not in space quite, but it's high in the atmosphere. So that's the biggest thing that I can remember that's more like Moonraker is just the lair. Because I think even the bad guy in Moonraker, he was trying to cause the apocalypse. He wasn't trying to have secret spies all over the place that he could control. But yeah.
Some of the action sequences were kind of reminiscent of some of those in Moonraker. Like, I think Moonraker also does have some of those where they're coming out of a helicopter plane and they're the falling down fighting kind of thing that was at the end. That was kind of something from Moonraker as well. But I think there was one or two other callbacks to it.
Yeah, there might be. It's been a while since we've had that podcast, so it's back in our archives. But and Moonraker is not my favorite of the Bond films, but it's Moonraker is the one that has the ski lift, not the ski lift, but the little. I guess it's kind of a ski lift, but the bigger ones, I don't know what they're called because I've never been on one before.
Like a gondola.
Gondola, yeah, it's like a gondola fight scene with Jaws and stuff, but yeah, it's. And the lair does get blown up and falls from the sky too.
All right.
And there's a character with metal teeth.
There is a character with metal teeth, yes.
Is there a character with metal teeth in this one? Did I miss?
Yeah, I was like, well, I guess it Taz.
David Harbour has some like metal filler.
Oh, okay. Spilling sky.
Actually, I did have a question though, because I know nothing about Taskmaster. I think you're the only person I've ever heard Mitch to even like mention this character in any circumstances.
It is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah. So so it's news to me that Taskmaster is supposed to be a mutant. Is the skull the character in the comics has? Is that like his or her face, or is that just a mask of a skull?
It's just a mask. So yeah, Taskmaster. There is actually really no origin story for him. There's no real background for him. It's another one of the Marvel mystery characters, like
so they could do whatever they want with the background.
Exactly. So one of his aliases that he commonly goes by, and when he goes by an alias, when he takes off his mask, he usually wears a hologram projector over his face, so you don't really know what he looks like either.
So he could have been a she the whole time.
It could possibly be a she. He goes by Tony Masters, TM. Taskmaster. So it's not exactly a big change to call him Antonia. Now, does Antonia Dreykov exist in the comic books? I have no idea. But that's what we ended up doing here. Yes, he has a mutant ability. His mutant ability is photographic reflexes. Any move that he sees done, he can repeat. There is a Deadpool comic. No, it's a Taskmaster comic. I don't remember which one, but he sits there and he watches a Bruce Lee movie and fast forward so that he can do Bruce Lee moves in quick time. Like it's one of the things that he does.
So is Taskmaster always a villain or a neutral mercenary type, or?
He is a mercenary type, and the times that they have tried to give him a background, he is either a AIM agent, a SHIELD agent, or a Hydra agent. He just he's playing. He's a triple agent. Like there's a time when it was like Nick Fury put me on, to infiltrate Hydra so that I could train their guys and then report back. And then there was like, oh no, but I was actually working for AIM, infiltrating SHIELD, then infiltrating Hydra kind of thing. Like he's a mercenary. That's is exactly what it is. I think at the current moment, he is the sheriff of Madripoor, the island that we saw in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah. That's right. He's the sheriff there, because it's all villains, and he can just tell them or extort them for whatever he needs. Like it's a bad, he's a bad guy.
I like a good chaotic neutral character, and that's
there you go.
What his type was calling for me. So
now you know what though. It's like I like the idea of Taskmaster, and even in this movie, the way they portrayed his abilities, or I guess it's abilities that you would call, but just because you can mimic something, it's like to actually use it at the right time, it's got to take a different kind of skill, you know what I mean? And so I like the idea of it, but there's got to be more to just being able to mimic somebody's moves. It's like also knowing when to use them.
Well, I think it's more than just mimicking their moves. It's more mimicking their fight style. So that if you understand how someone fights, you will understand what they're going to do next.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that one of the funny things is that the way that they portrayed Antonia's powers or fights ability in this movie is more akin to a DC character by the name of Prometheus, where it's downloaded into her brain. Like we do see her watching something, but it's more of a like it saw something also being plugged into the back of her helmet so that it's shown to her in her visor, and then she gets to use the heads up display in the visor to then predict what it is that someone's going to do.
See, I thought that it was more the way that he controlled her, though, because he does say she has perfect photographic memory, like she can watch a fight. He didn't say it was downloaded into her.
That's
the only
fair.
thing that he was using with the chip was control,
Okay.
and I think
You know
giving
what,
her
though?
assignments or something.
Yeah, but
But when
I was
she
gonna
gets
say it
sprayed in the
was-
face, she's loses the control, right? Because that's one of the other things in this movie. We go from psychological conditioning, which we had Natasha go through, to now chemical better life through pharmaceuticals, right? Like they're using Melina's research and science to now control all the Black Widows using chemicals.
hmm
And one of the things about her fighting style, it was kind of reminiscent of Iron Man's. Was it in Civil War where he's fighting Captain America and his AI is able to kind of like scan his fighting style and then kind of counteract it. So I mean, it could be something like that too, where they just stole kind of that part of his AI technology and put it in her as well.
Yes, it's the heads up display is definitely it's very similar. At least it seemed that way in the way that they showed off the markings on her adversaries, like moves and stuff like that. So Taskmaster, like I am not upset about the change in Taskmaster. I'm just happy to see Taskmaster on the big screen. I hope we get to see more of Taskmaster on the big screen.
Mm.
I also felt like Jessica felt, or at least expressed earlier, that it wasn't a big surprise that it ended up being a woman. However, going up into the movie when I saw it in the trailers, because I really felt like the times you see it, and I obviously it could have been a male or female stunt double in the suit, but there's certain times in the trailer where you can see that the character is walking more in a feminine way, I feel. And
That was my clue to it early on. I was like, Mitch didn't say Taskmaster was a girl. Like, why wouldn't he tell me that? Because, and then I thought, well, maybe it's because he can manipulate or not mimic, and he's fighting a girl, so maybe he's mimicking her. But then I was like, no, there's something very. I guess it was maybe intentional because there was something very intentional that made me think that that's a girl. It's, it's like it moves like a lady. Like,
but I also thought from the trailer, since they didn't show a lot of Rachel Weisz in either of the trailers, that it was going to be her as Taskmaster. I thought that was going to be the big betrayal. But nope, when you see Taskmaster showing up in the helicopter, it's like, well, there goes that. It must be Antonia. So what was either John or Daniel, were you surprised by the reveal of Antonia there in the third act?
I was.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
taking it back slightly and continuing with the James Bond theme, I didn't realize because I saw her name in the credits and I didn't know that she was going to be in it. Olga Kurylenko, who plays Antonia.
She was in Quantum of Solace.
Yeah, she is a Bond girl.
Unfortunately, she's the one that dies like covered in oil. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that was
It wasn't her?
no, that was Gemma Adderton.
Oh, that was Gemma Anderton. That's right.
Yeah, Strawberry Fields is the one that got killed.
Ah, that's right. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I was with you there, Mitch. I kind of thought Rachel Weisz might have ended up being Taskmaster just because you saw her in the beginning and then you kind of never saw her again, and it's like we're gonna see her somehow again.
And then she got
it didn't
shot,
turn out.
right?
Yeah. So
So-
I was kind of right there with you. I'm like, you know what? She's gonna be somebody maybe later because I'm like, I don't think she's dead yet. So yeah, it was kind of a good surprise to not be her.
How do you think how do any of you think that David Harbour's character Alexei got his super soldier serum? Because we know that when Bucky stole some of that, the Russians tried using it to make their own super soldiers, but this would have been a different formula, right?
I think it would have come before.
Okay, so
'Cause,
before the
that
death of Tony's parents.
Yeah, because that happened in like what 93.
I think you're right.
So, and this that flashback takes place in 95. So I think that might have happened sometime before, like in the 80s, I want to say. So that he would get established and then, get the assignment, I guess, to come and infiltrate, be basically the Americans in Ohio.
Yeah.
But yeah, that leaves me with a lot of questions because so Russia was also able to successfully implement the super soldier serum, but they ended up just sending him to a gulag as well.
Yeah, that does seem weird.
That's I don't know. I mean, unless it was supposed to imply that the regime change, like after this fall of the Soviet Union, which would have also happened before 95. So I don't know. Like there's some parts in there that I'm not sure line up correctly.
Well, the MCU Russians had super soldiers, Red Room, Black Widows, and Winter Soldier. Like they had quite the force here, and yet I guess Hydra kept them locked down.
Oh,
I guess, yeah. Well, because Hydra was at some point not even strictly Nazi related. It was just like its own thing, right?
Right. I mean, that's what we ended up getting in this MCU history. We saw that the Red Skull was like, "I am beyond you, stupid Nazis. I'm Hydra now." And in the comic books, yes, Hydra was more of the people behind the Nazis. They were funding the Nazis, so to speak.
They were kind of sort of like kingmakers in a way, or like a
Yeah.
shadow organization.
Yeah. So, speaking of other Easter eggs, what have you all heard, or did you pick up here on your own? Did you catch anything? Anything you want to bring up?
I saw something. Well, there was a really obvious one, but it's also kind of a throwaway joke. They make reference to the Crimson Dynamo, which is an Iron Man villain who I think he has like the power of hurricanes or something like that, or he can make windstorms.
Yeah, using power armor, just like
Okay, so
just like Tony.
but he looks more like Ironmonger, right? Because he's like real bulky and big instead of like sleek and he looks more like a Mega Man villain kind of. So yeah, reference to I guess another classic Iron Man / Avengers villain with the Crimson Dynamo was kind of cool. It would have been a good opportunity given what we know now about the state of the MCU and the affiliation with Fox now, or its appropriation rather, of maybe throwing in also like instead of saying like, "Oh, weren't you the Red Guardian?" Is you say, "Oh yeah, I know, you're Omega Red" or something like that. And that would have been like, "Hey, I understood that reference."
One of my favorite was the large gentleman that the Red Guardian breaks the arm of when he's arm wrestling people, other prisoners. That is supposed to be a mutant by the name of Ursa Major, who turns into a bear. And that's why he calls him a bear.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, you'll be okay, bear," something like that. So
that's awesome. That's a cool reference. Also reminded me of The Fly when Jeff Goldblum arm wrestles that guy in the bar.
That's true.
Breaks his arm in half. That's pretty cool.
Daniel, did you have any Easter eggs that you came across that you enjoyed?
Well, the only one that really kind of caught my attention when I've watched it had to do, I think, with a little bit of the X-Men tease, I guess, when I forget, Rachel Weisz's character was explaining to Natasha that, she was picked because of her genetic profile or something like that. And I thought, are they trying to reference kind of another, genetic X-Men X Factor thing? But I mean, Black Widow never that we know of had any type of mutant ability, at least not in the version I know. But that's kind of like the only thing I was like, well, they're just kind of, they keep teasing the X-Men and the X gene, but we're still not there yet.
See, I just felt that was like a tease of like, you make a great killer, like kind of thing. It's in your DNA.
You know, I wanted to comment on something, and I know nobody's going to care about this, but I really wished we got a scene in Infinity War where Spider-Man met Black Widow, and he was like, "Oh, sweet, you're a fellow spider person. Like, how'd you get your powers?" And she'd just be like, "It's just a name."
It was beaten into me in a Russian.
Yeah. It's like it's called the forced hysterectomy.
Doesn't that happen in the comics between Spider-Man and Spider-Woman though? Because she didn't quite get her powers from a radioactive spider. She just kind of sort of calls herself Spider-Woman. She doesn't.
Yeah, like she just has like arbitrary powers and like just chose like a spider persona basically.
Yeah, and Spider-Man's like, "Hey, you got spider powers like me from a spider," and she's like, "No."
I just like spiders.
I just like spiders. I fly with a cape.
Actually, Stan Lee just wanted to create the female version so that he could copyright the name and
doesn't worry about the details later.
Yeah.
All right. So then, what are some of the things that we didn't care for in this movie? What's some grievances? Oh, John.
Okay, so right away. There was one thing I really didn't like about this movie, and that was the really weird cover of "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
I thought it was an okay cover.
I didn't care for it either.
It reminded me.
I don't care for that song.
Yeah, like I love Nirvana, but like that, even I think like that's a dumb song. Like this, like, and to make it sound so serious, like to put all this emotion into it, because obviously they're trying to play off of the fact that these are two kids. One of them is a teen, so like their rebellious nature is being like put into this really obvious song, which the actual song, from what I understand of its history, was because somebody told Kurt Cobain that he smells like Teen Spirit, the girls' deodorant.
Oh, really?
That was popular. Yeah.
Hey, oh my gosh, I remember that crap. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So he just liked the sound of "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and that's why he just made like a bunch of nonsensical lyrics, which isn't saying anything. It's just a weird song.
No, it's just a weird song.
So trying to turn it into like a teenage anthem of rebellion in this, which is what it's supposed to be technically, but it just, the tone just felt so wrong. Also, it was a really long cold open.
It reminded me of World War Z's cold open.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is, which made me think, oh, is this not the typical Marvel film? Because I was literally worried I was going to watch a thriller, or like was like, oh no, I don't like the tone it's setting. But then again, you kind of have to set that tone a little bit, because the background of Black Widow is it's a man controlling women to be assassins because they look nice. Like, just it is a gross concept. So taking girls from their mothers and all that. Yeah, so like it did fit, but then it also made, because it's the opening, it makes you think, is this going to be the feel of the entire movie? So, but it doesn't quite match the movie because of their song choice, more likely than anything.
Well, the only thing that comes to mind that, I don't know if it's not that I didn't like it, but it was like, how many times can we go there? Was the whole idea of, I forget the guy's name, but the fact that he has widows all over the place, that he can like take over everything at a whim. And it's like, so Hydra has everybody everywhere. This guy has everybody everywhere. It's like, how many people have everything infiltrated? And maybe they just can't take over wherever they want just because there's so many people trying to fight for the same thing all over the world. I don't know. It was just kind of like, okay.
We know from Black Panther that the Wakandans had agents all over the world too. So it's going to be like John Wick, where everybody is actually an agent of somebody else, and they just have to figure it out. Yeah, I love I guess I'm going back to love things, but I had to read this one because I didn't remember catching it, but from the first Avengers movie. Loki says to Black Widow when she's interrogating him that, you have a lot of red in your ledger. We know about Dreykov's daughter. Like, that's back then.
Oh.
They ended up using that now, which is pretty great.
Huh. I did not notice that.
Obviously, we kept getting more references to Bucharest or Budapest.
Budapest.
Thank you. Sorry. Budapest. So we got a little bit more insight into what happened there. Definitely
just hanging out for 2 weeks with your bed, hiding in tunnels, putting tic-tac-toe on the walls.
But for things that I didn't care for, I really do wish that we would have got more fight scenes. Well, more fight scenes with Taskmaster. Like, I didn't feel like we got enough of that.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of Taskmaster in this, and he was built up to be this like really ominous enemy.
Yeah, we got that first fight scene with between Natasha and Taskmaster, and then after that, like, it's very not. She's in the background. She gets
stuck in a cage.
Yeah, gets stuck in a cage. So that was my biggest grievance.
I think the one thing I didn't understand, I guess, and I'm just looking at it from different angles, but the first fight between Natasha and Yelena, it's like, wait, you guys or you girls do know your sisters, right? And you're still like what's going on here? And like, I thought it was like Yelena's place over there in Budapest, and I'm like, you're just like, if you're not gonna kill each other, you're just gonna like mess up the place or something. It's like, I don't get it.
Sisters fighting.
I guess
these sisters just happen to be assassins at the same time, so it's a bit rough.
It's a little bit more rough. Like, it's just like when,
it's like, can I beat you now? Like, that's what I saw. Like, I legit was like, okay, where do we stand now? We haven't seen each other in a while.
Some unresolved sibling rivalry they had to get out real quick, and then they can.
Yeah, and I'm like, but like the whole pointing a gun thing at each other. It's like, wait. So are you gonna actually shoot each other? It's like,
well, you saw their fingers weren't on the trigger. Like, it's more of a I can best you kind of thing. It's just it's very reminiscent of Natasha and Hawkeye fighting. Like, first in Civil War, and then second time it's a little bit more important when they're gonna sacrifice themselves for the Soul Stone. But like, they're not there to kill each other. They're there to one up each other.
Yeah. I was just totally confused when it was going on, because I was like, wait. You guys are seeing each other. Like, you knew we were going to see each other, but okay, just like you said. I guess it's just a way higher level sibling rivalry type of thing.
Well, I mean, we have a higher one of it too with Gamora and Nebula as well.
True,
because Nebula is kind of evil, but not. She's one of those neutral characters, but. Clearly, Nebula just wanted to beat Gamora just to prove she could beat Gamora. Not necessarily that she hated Gamora. That was all her father putting that in her. But, it's once she beats Gamora, she's like, okay, let's. And she kind of ends up changing her tide, kind of thing. So I don't know. That's how I took it as. It's like, yeah, that's how two assassin sisters would greet each other, is seeing who's the best one still. Because that's sisters are competitive. My biggest complaint would be the butt shots. Probably there was quite a lot of them, especially in the beginning. It slowed down later on, but there was quite a lot of them. Which, I mean, Scarlett Johansson does have a wonderful butt, but like. I guess we do get a lot of Chris Evans butt shots too. So I guess I can't complain too much. But and also I feel like they could have done a slightly better job of hitting on the nail that it's also a metaphor of child slavery too. Because this is a true thing. I mean, they're not assassins, but there are a lot of missing girls out there. And I feel like they could have, but it's not their job too at the same time. But I feel like Marvel really could have been like, hey, also reality too. Like I feel like they could have hit it on the nail a little bit harder.
And you know what? I understand that, and I feel like Marvel does do that more often than not. But I think it's more of like this is a movie, and then you also have Disney there. That's kind of like we need to hit all four quadrants. We can't really get too deep into it.
Too deep, yeah. I know. I know that's what I'm saying. It's not their job, but I hope other people caught on because I at least did get that message. Like, oh no, this is terrifying and this is real, kind of thing. Once they showed the map, so I guess they did do something. But I kind of.
Don't worry, Jessica. I'm sure
more
eventually
conversation about that.
they'll put a disclaimer in front of it before it goes live for everybody. This film depicts blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Well, you need to have this depicts this, and you can learn more here.
You can learn more. That's more what I wanted. Like I wanted maybe something in the credits, like missing women or something. This is the organizations that you can look more into it, kind of thing. Like another film did it. It was a Hawkeye film. What's the
Jeremy
actor's
Renner
name?
film?
Yeah, Jeremy Renner film, and it took place in like Wyoming or something. And it was about the amount of Native American missing women.
Oh, the Wind River.
Yeah, and they straight up say at the end credits, like so many Native American women go missing and they're still not found, kind of thing. So, but that was me asking for too much. If I'm honest, I was asking way too much from a Marvel film. But it was more like because I looked at it as a woman in this world. I looked at it and it reminded me of that is one of my fears as a woman, and so it kind of, that's.
Well,
what a great reminder. Can we do something
anybody
about that?
listening to this know that you can go and find out more about this terrible thing. The side characters that we all seem to love. We got Milena, Alexei, the Red Guardian, and now Yelena's Black Widow. We know that Yelena Black Widow is going to be showing up further in the MCU. More importantly, in the more recent future, Hawkeye series. Where do we get to see these other characters, Taskmaster, Red Guardian, Iron Maiden, going forward in the MCU?
I hope so. I like them all.
Any thoughts of where?
I would love to see Taskmaster as an Avenger.
Oh,
yes,
straight up an Avenger.
Yeah, I
like you said, we didn't get enough.
Yeah. Another Nebula type.
the fact that Taskmaster was kind of cyborgish in this one, though, reminded me a lot of like a G.I. Joe robot soldier. One of I forget its exact name, but there's like a Cobra drone, and it's like got a very similar design to its like outfit as the Taskmaster does in this one. And I was like, hey, that's the G.I. Joe dude. I wanted to bring up something real quick because I was trying to work it into the conversations. So I'm just going to be blunt about it. Why did what's his name? Drakov.
Yeah.
Why did he have a huge portrait of Rasputin in his office in the Red Room?
So I'm guessing that they were trying to allude to the fact that he's a descendant. That's why he survived the explosion. Like he doesn't have a scratch on him when that whole building blew up.
So
Rasputin couldn't be poisoned, so they had to shoot him 20 times, and supposedly that still didn't work if you believe conspiracy theories. So
yeah,
that's not the only portrait he had, though, right? Because I thought I read somewhere that there was also a portrait of like Karl Marx or something like that.
What's his name? The Red Guardian had the words Karl and Marx tattooed on his fingers.
This is true.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought maybe they were trying to make some kind of allusion to the fact that Natasha's last name is Romanov.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rasputin versus the Romanovs. I mean, that's what brought down the Tsars.
Yeah, that's true. They could have been doing that.
I feel that's probably an illusion there.
Well, also, like, if it's, I don't know if this Rasputin portrait is like a huge rare portrait, but maybe it could hint that he's bought art from the whatever place in Falcon and Winter Soldier too.
Oh, that's true. From the power broker?
Yeah, the power broker. Or the previous power broker in this case. But
speaking of, I think you could definitely see either Red Guardian or Taskmaster in that Fight Club that we see in the Shang-Chi trailer. Like, I feel like both of them would be pretty well done there.
Yeah.
Maybe Melina being a part of Shield in some way or form to
Or
use it.
Sword, right?
Or Sword,
from
yeah, whatever it is
WandaVision.
whatever Nick is doing up in space. Or
Yeah.
Sword, yeah, you're right, yeah, Sword,
Yeah.
yeah. So, any other thoughts? Anything else that you wanted to get off? Because we've been talking quite a bit, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
I have a weird one, but
Okay.
Throughout this movie, of all the accents that we heard Rachel Weisz speak in, her British accent wasn't one of them, which I thought was kind of funny.
That's fair. Florence Pugh is also British, I believe, right? And she didn't get to use her British accent.
Well, she didn't, but like Rachel Weisz, when she started in the beginning, it was a very American accent. I was like, oh, okay, she's going to be an American. And then obviously it didn't last long, right? Because she's in undercover. And then, you see her later. It's like, oh, okay, that's a Russian. Okay, that's fine. I'm like, are we going to get the British one eventually? No? Okay, that's fine.
To that point, Florence Pugh's Russian accent was very nice.
Is David Harbour? He's not of Russian descent, is he?
I don't think so.
Because I feel like he's done Russian before this, right?
He's trapped in Russia and Stranger Things.
That's
right now.
true. He is trapped in Russia right now.
Which I kept on thinking too.
And he does go talk to the Baba Yaga in Hellboy.
That's true. I forget that he was Hellboy.
I liked him as Hellboy. I forgot.
He did a good
that.
enough job. It just wasn't that great of a movie.
Yeah, that's true. But I liked him as Hellboy.
Anything else? Any other parts that anybody wants to get off their chest or just talk about, or just be like
the "what are you on your period" joke was done quite well to somebody that doesn't have a uterus. Like, it's just no, I can't, because remember you put me in a program that sterilizes me. They kind of yoink. That was
okay.
Okay. That was very much a dad moment. I was like,
You know what? I will say that for the majority of the movie, I actually did think they weren't just undercover with them, but that they were actually their parents. And then later on, they like clarified, no, that we're not their parents, kind of thing. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, for a second, I thought actually you guys were like totally blood family, but they did make that distinction. And the only thing I'm disappointed in, I guess, and I thought we were going to get it based on what we were seeing in the end credits, after credit scene. I wanted Black Widow
to whistle back.
No.
Oh, yes.
Because when I saw like, oh, we're going to see the hold on a second, we're going to see her tombstone, right? Her mom's tombstone, her unknown tombstone.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh no, that's not her mom's. Oh, it's Black Widow. Okay, cool. So we're going to see that unknown next to it? No, we're not. Oh, okay. So that was kind of like the only disappointing thing for me, where we didn't get the, Natasha Romanoff and the unknown tombstone next to each other.
The mother, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't think about it till after the movie was over, but like the whole description of the tree with the pink blossoms, like was that the tree there too? Was she buried under a tree with pink blossoms?
I didn't catch that much, but I thought it kind of looked like it might have been like, but I was like, I didn't pay too much attention to that. I'd have to go back and check that out.
Hey, and you can, because you own the movie.
Oh, that's true.
Us already. Yeah.
I can go back and watch it as many times as I want now.
All right. Thank you all for coming in and talking about this movie. I feel like we all left with a net positive, if not enjoyed it thoroughly. So Jessica, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter as JM Bailey Writes.
And John?
You can also find me on Twitter at Magic Bollocks.
Daniel?
You can find me on Twitter at djuarez03. Very creative, I know.
I am at Mitchipedia GEM on Twitter. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. The rest of Geek Elite Media is at Geek Elite Media on Twitter, at Geek Elite Media on Instagram, and Facebook.com/Geek Elite Media is our Facebook page. Check out archived episodes of, I don't know. We do have archived episodes of Overtime. So you can check out archived episodes of this show and other shows on our website, geekelitemedia.com. Please rate and review us on whatever podcatcher you use so that it helps spread the word of our network. But until next time, this is Overtime on the Geek Elite Media Network saying always remember to geek out.
Out.
This concludes our broadcast.